Morning. Quick and simple. Run down the list of what we'll be discussing today. 5 simple steps. Just check your credit score, get your finances together, identify a location that you'd like to live in, save for a down payment, and you build your team. So with your credit score, like I was saying, go to Credit Karma. It's free. You don't have to pay anybody anything. It gives you a list of everything that's on your credit. And if you see something that shouldn't be there or is questionable, you can call. It has all of the information on there. So you don't really have to pay anybody to fix your credit. You can do it yourself. And that's what I ended up doing. Get your credit right, because your credit is going to affect the interest rate that you can get once you get a loan. If you don't have cash to pay for the entire house, then you're going to need a loan. And when you get a loan, they're going to charge you an interest rate. And the interest rate depends on what your credit score looks like. Credit Karma, it's a free, quick site that you can put some information in, and it's legit. So you don't have to worry about fraudulent things happening there. And then you just work through that and build your credit as high as you can. The higher you get your credit score, the lower your monthly payment will be on the same house. For instance, if you buy a house, let's say $300,000, if you put down 3.5% and at a 6% interest rate, that house will probably cost on a monthly basis somewhere around $2,200. But that same house, same price, if you have an interest rate of, let's say, 8%, then that can jump easily to like $3,000 a month. The next step, like I said, would be get your finances together. Right after you check your credit score, it's going to take you a little time to start building it and get it higher. In the meantime, while you're doing that, you want to check your finances out. And most people think, American dream is dead, can't buy a house because all of the prices just skyrocket and the jobs aren't paying enough. That's the key point too, right? But it's not about how much money you make. It's about how much money you can keep. You have to make a certain amount to be able to cover that mortgage, the monthly payment. But how much can you keep of your paycheck, which is discipline? How much can you keep to start saving and stacking away? Whatever job you have, you figure out what all of your expenses are on a monthly basis. All of your expenses, lay them out, everything, even the things that don't happen every month. And that's where most people go wrong. They just look at this month and they'll track what all came out. But they're not thinking about, like, if you have a car and you got to do your registrations, that's once or twice a year. So you have to consider those things too. And let's say it's 600, let's say it's $1,000 a year, which is high, I know, but just an example. If it's $1,000 a year, then you just divide that by 12 and figure out how much that is that you need to put away each month to end up saving it so that it's not stressful. But anyway, consider everything, all of your expenses, write them down. And you want to write them down so that you can see where your money is going to. Consider food. Fast food is the biggest budget killer. And then you want to write down your income. What is your income each month? And what did those expenses look like? Simply subtract your expenses from your income that you get each month, and that'll let you know what shape you're in. Most people don't even do that. Like, we say we want to be a homeowner, but we don't even take the time to assess our finances and figure out how much money do I actually have. Like, most people don't even know. So if you do that part, you'll be ahead of the game. Sit down, figure out your finances. Total income minus total expenses. And you'll find out that when you do that, you have quite a few places where you can start saving some money. It's not going to be comfortable, but we're not trying to get comfortable. We're trying to build. Figure out your finances. Then you'll know how much you have to put away, but you also know how much you make a month. You will have an idea about how much you can afford. You already know what you're paying in rent if you're paying rent. So you have a slight idea already. But I'm sure that you can save more and comfortably buy a house that may be around the same price monthly for a mortgage, or maybe a little bit more. The next thing is identify where you'd be comfortable living. You have to understand that we only grow when we're uncomfortable. When it comes to identifying a location you want to live in, by being uncomfortable, I don't mean to go to some rugged area just to get a cheap house. Safety above it all. What I mean is, you may have to consider living in a different town, living in a different city that you haven't been before. You may have to consider living in a different state. People like me always want to help, whether it's family, friends, or whoever. But what I learned is you have to help yourself first before you can help somebody else. Two people drown and can't help each other. If you have family, friends, whoever that you don't want to leave, understand the bigger picture. If you want to help them, you may have to leave for a period of time. Depending on your situation, I know there are some where it's like it's a little bit more complicated than that, and that's understandable. Just find out what fits your situation. But find locations and consider places that are outside of your comfort zone. And when you find a place that you would consider living, make sure it's not something that you're just settling for, but someone else would potentially like to live there too. Because what they don't tell you is that no one keeps the first house that they buy. So we have to get outside of our comfort zone and identify different locations that we'd be okay with living in. That takes us to the next step. Now that we have an idea of where we're comfortable living, an idea of what our finances look like and what our credit score look like, and we're working on all of that, let's start saving. However much it is that you can put away, put it away. And that's going towards your down payment and your closing costs. So people always just say down payment, down payment. It's closing costs too. And you'll get surprised at the closing table. So, quick example, if you have a $300,000 house that you agree on the purchase price with, then that $300,000 house, let's say your down payment, it's in a rural area, so 3%. The down payment would be $9,000, but then closing costs would be about 2%. Depending on the state, it can range anywhere from 2 to 6%. You definitely want to be aware of that. So you got your down payment plus your closing costs. That's exactly what you're putting away and saving towards. And people get discouraged because it's like, oh, I can only put away a small amount. That'll take me 3 years to end up saving, and prices might or might not change by then. Exactly. You don't know whether they would change for the better or for the worse. All you can do is control what you can control. And that's what it comes down to, is that discipline. We always forget that you need to become the type of person that can own an asset like that. The more you have, the greater the responsibility. The God that created this world created them with principles. Do well with what you have, you will receive more. Make sure that you're stewarding whatever it is that you have, but save for the down payment. You got to be disciplined. Whatever it is, just stack away. And again, when we was in our finances, we were already seeing where we were spending a lot of money and we didn't necessarily need to, or where we can cut back on some things. That last and final step will be building your team. So you got your credit score, you understand what that looks like, you understand what you're trying to get it up to, and you got your finances in order. So now you know how much you can save, you see where you need to cut back. Then you identify locations that you'd be interested in living in. Once you did that, you start saving for your down payment and the closing costs. And on our track of doing that, once we feel like we're getting close, here's a bonus before I get to that last step. If it's a personal home, so your first home or home you intend to live in, basically, the lender is going to ask for 2 months of statements. So whatever money you have or intend to get to pay for that down payment, closing costs, just make sure that money is already in the account you intend to share with them to show proof of funds. It's already in there 2 months prior. You won't have any issues. There won't be any more questions, or there won't be many questions at all. If you have to transfer your money into a bank account in order for them to see proof of funds, they're going to start asking questions. Where did this money come from? And even if it's legit, whatever, doesn't matter. It's just a gruesome process when they start asking more questions and ask you to show proof of documents. And some of it is pretty redundant and tedious, because it's like, I clearly own this. This is clearly mine, but it doesn't matter. The paperwork, they want to see the entire trail. So to avoid that process being as bad as it could be, simply make sure you have the money in that account you intend to share with them at least 2 months prior to signing documents and going through that process with the lender. Now, that bonus comes off of fifth step, which is building your team. And that's going to consist of a realtor, obviously. It would also be a lender, in this case, where you're just looking for a home for yourself. There's other things to look for, and there's other parts of a team, but in this stage, in this phase, buying your first home is not necessary. So lender and realtor, those are the main two key, those are the key players. When looking for a realtor, especially if this is your first home that you're buying, you do not want to go on this journey with an inexperienced realtor. That is not the time. Family, friend, whomever, it's not the time to do that. There are many things that can trip up a deal. You can have all your ducks in a row. Then you get to the end of it, you at the closing table, and it's not done until it's done. So you want an experienced realtor, especially in the area that you're searching in. You don't want to get a realtor that's from an outside area going into a different county or what have you, that they don't have much experience in. They will know the area better, especially if you're considering a new location. That realtor will know the area better, can keep you into the safe zones, basically, the pockets that actually work. Because some states, especially like South Florida, like it's tricky. You can be in one neighborhood and it looks like sunshine and rainbows, and you just go around the corner, and now it looks like you in Afghanistan. So you want to work with an experienced realtor for sure. And then the documents that come out, things are constantly changing. You want a realtor that stays on top of that, and they're full of the information that you won't have. If you're more experienced and have done this or invest in real estate or what have you, that's where you can focus more on relationship and whether you all align on what you're seeking out of that versus the experience, because now you have experience where you should be able to catch a few things on your own. But that's the realtor side of it. And then you have the lender. If you can get them to work together and have somewhat of a relationship, that's even better. The lender, they're gonna, like I said, want to know all of the information. And there are a lot of different ways that they can help you. They usually have different options. So ask as many questions as possible to each of these members of your team. You want to ask the realtor as many questions as possible. You want to ask the lender as many questions as possible. Don't be afraid to push back. After all, you're buying a house, so you want to ask as many questions and make sure that when you purchase this home, it's going to feel like a blessing. With the lender, be cautious of what they tell you you can afford. They're not considering how much your gas going to cost. They're not considering your groceries. All they look at for the debt to income ratio, meaning how much debt do you have versus how much income do you have. And safe number to say, depending on the program and the type of loan, they don't want that to be above 50%. Even better if it's like 40% or lower. And with that, you want to make sure that you personally don't go above 40%. It's going to start feeling tight. They will say, again, that you can afford a house at a certain price, and that debt to income ratio will be at about 50%. But it will feel like you have no money to take care of the home, and you pinching pennies, can't travel or do anything else. So 25% to 35% is the sweet spot. I understand with prices and everything being different these days, it may be a little higher than that, but absolutely do not go above, be very cautious going above 40%. But the more disciplined you are, um, the more flexibility you have there. But that's what you want to look out for with your lender. That last team member is actually going to be the title company. They basically gather all of the documents. They should be an independent party between seller and buyer, as well as they don't work for the lender, nor do they work for your realtor. So they're just collecting all of the documents, putting everything in order, and these documents that they gather and put together and finalize will have to be signed by you, the buyer, as well as the seller at the closing table. It doesn't have to be done in person. I've done it multiple times where I've closed on a property virtually. Another bonus tip, make sure if it is not in person, you have a bank that you can go into that's local to where you are. Because if you can't send the funds, you're gonna have to wire the final funds before closing. And the same with the documents. Those documents have to be signed on a specific day and they have to be notarized. You can usually do that at a bank as well for free, or you can get a mobile notary. But you want to have a bank that you can walk into and wire some funds. Because again, you can have all your ducks in a row, everything look great, great property. You're ready to close. It's the day of closing, and you have to wire funds, but you don't have a bank that is near you, and you can't get there physically. The whole deal just pretty much falls apart. Quick list. Again, I'll run through it, which is check your credit, get your finances together, identify location, consider some alternative options out of the city, out of the county, out of the state potentially. Then that fourth one is save for your down payment plus closing costs, which again, closing costs is about 2 to 6%, depends on the state that you're in. And that fifth and final step was build your team. Thank y'all for joining. Appreciate it. Again, I'll be doing this every Saturday, 11:30 a.m. Eastern time, or whoever shows up. No cost. Just trying to give the information that I have to help whoever it does. Till next time, God bless.